If we did this, I think the way people do it at home, you pay the bill when it comes, how many of these Medicaid bills would we miss out because we're getting the enhanced match for the next couple of months? Or the next couple of months?
Well, now, some of the Medicaid bills don't qualify for the federal match. Those are still out there. Those are still in the backlog. That's still part and parcel of our $4 billion hole, if you will. When we get the money that is from late bills, which we refer to as lapse money, that's still coming in. That'll probably add about another $1 billion to our hole. So this helps, but it doesn't solve the problem. And of course, it still pushes other providers back into line as we move the Medicaid bills up front. And we kind of have to. It's the only way we can get that federal match. Otherwise, we would be missing out on monies that we normally could get.
$3.9 billion, I think the last time I checked, what was the backlog? It was only a couple of weeks ago that it was a little bit more than 4, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a little bit more than 4. You know, we anticipate more. So by the time we get through, and at the end of December of this year, when all is said and done, now granted that's not a fiscal year, but it's a real year, we will probably still be at about $6 to $7 billion in the hole. We still will have to figure out a way how to pay those things. And, you know, we keep trying in our office in terms of consolidating things, merging things, doing things in a more 21st century way with computers that saves money. To go back to the old Benjamin Franklin idea of a penny saved is a penny earned. So if we can save money anywhere, and if the legislature will not add in their spending, it gives me a chance to catch up. All I'm asking the legislature to do is don't keep spending, because it gives me a chance to catch up, because otherwise I'll be marching in place, and that would not be good.
This enhanced match ends at the end of June.
Right.
What kind of pressure does it make it tougher? Now, when we go forward without the match, we're going to be dealing with less money to pay these bills.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the question is, how difficult is that going to make paying these bills? How much is that going to speed up are we going to fall further in the hole because we don't have the extra Medicaid money? And are there any numbers that can sort of quantify what's going to happen when we lose the extra Medicaid match? Well,
it's not going to make things better. Okay, so it will probably slow the process down. It will, add to our backlog. It just will make it tougher. I mean, the Medicaid match did not solve all of our problems, but it sure as heck helped. And come the 30th of June, I mean, we lose that help and we'll be out there on our own, and we'll only get 50% of every dollar and 50 cents. So we're going to have to make up that money. We're still going to owe.
The FY12 budget is predicated on the idea of pushing $1.1 billion, $1.2 billion in bills off into FY13. They're going to stretch the payment cycle to 100+ days. A lot of these Medicare providers have been getting paid under, with a 30-day payment cycle.
They've gotten kind of happy for a while. That happiness is about to end. It's not going to be good for them. And, the other thing is, too, that's an accounting trick in terms of pushing it off. You're still pushing off the debt. You're still pushing off the payment. It has to get done. So, okay, you can stretch it out. You're just going to make it tougher on the provider. We always get back to the question of, is the provider going to want to be there? Is the provider going to want to deal with the state of Illinois? Is the provider going to be able to stay in business if we keep this up? So, we've prioritized the Medicaid payments to take advantage of the federal match, but, we still have the backlog of the other state payments. That'll help in the short term, but in the long term, we're still going to have to pay up on this debt. That's not going away.
After the Medicaid match ends, will your office reshuffle the deck with the bills? Will it be first received, first paid? How does that work? I mean, there has been this focus on paying Medicaid, quickly paying Medicaid. It was in the state's interest to pay those Medicaid bills first. Now that that incentive is gone, how's it going to work without that Medicaid match? Well,
it is a subjective type of a thing. As well, it has to be because of the way the bills come in and the variety of bills that we have to pay. But at the same time, everything is going to kind of go back into order. We will try and go back to the backlog, pay the oldest bills first. Sometimes we'll do a sweep so that we can get the largest number of providers that have bills $1,000 or less, that we can get as many off the books as possible, try and knock them out. The other thing that we'll consistently do is if there are hardship cases, we do those on an individual basis, but you always have to remember, the minute we push somebody up to the front of the line, somebody else is going to go to the back of the line. It's just a fact of life. There's just only so many pieces of the pie I can distribute, and then I run out. So that's why it is so absolutely incredibly important that the legislature not spend money that they don't have. Please cut where you can. Start looking at some of the things. I would have them start looking at commissions and committees and things of this sort that might not be needed. I remember when I was in the legislature, one year we got rid of all sorts of committees and things of this sort and saved about $7 billion or something like that. Well, let's try it. Let's try these things. I mean, you're going to have to be tighter on the budget. The budget is still too loose, as far as I'm concerned.
What worries you as a comptroller, since you have probably the best numbers of anybody in this building?
I think we're the only trustworthy numbers. I mean, it's just judging by all parties come here, which make me feel kind of good that we're the honest broker. And that's true. There's no agenda here other than to just do the good job to make sure that we're talking about real numbers and dealing with real numbers. No accounting gimmicks, no craziness. This is straight up.
What worries you as you look past the end of June and into what should be fiscal year 2012, even though we're not going to be paying the bills for fiscal year 2012 yet?
Well, how are we going to pay these bills? And what worries me is, our economy has still not picked up. We still have the real estate market is still touchy. We haven't been able to create enough jobs in the state of Illinois. We've got numerous hits on the economy. And we have to pay bills. We've got this huge deficit. You can borrow, you can do all sorts of things for a little while, but you can't do this forever. And the legislature is really going to have to pay attention, as painful as it may be. And having come from the legislature, I understand that. But no is a fair word when it's used properly. Not no for everything. I mean, you don't just make this your mantra, but you have to stop the flow of unnecessary dollars. You can't hire people you can't afford at big bucks. You can't, jack up pensions for political favorites. You can't have more taxing bodies than any state in the union. You can't have things floating around out there that can be pulled in that have just been allowed to grow over the years and never looked at, because when times were good, it was okay. But the times are not good. They don't look really good ahead, at least for this next fiscal year. We have got to pull in our horns.
What was the deficit going into calendar year 11? You said it could be $67 billion in December.
It's pretty much the same. Pretty much the same. We have really not chopped it down. And the worst thing is that the public is so sure by assumption that the higher tax increase that we had went to pay down these bills, and it did not. So I think they are somewhat puzzled, because you're taking all this money out of their pockets, but somehow this backlog keeps existing. Where is the money going? And the money's going for Medicaid and pensions. That's where it's going.
Is the budget crafting for the next year, for the FY13 budget, or when lawmakers come back after January and start work on the next budget, is that going to make this year look easy by comparison? Even though there was wailing and gnashing of teeth at the cuts that were included in this, is next year the next couple of years just going to get that much more difficult?
Oh yeah, you're going to see all the results of the Rod Blagojevich giveaways. You're going to see the accounting tricks come to roost. And I'll tell you, it is just a proven fact that if you keep kicking down the can down the road, when it comes back at you more expensively. It leads to tougher economic times. It will cause a major problem for us in the state of Illinois, but it has to get done. So I think all your low-hanging fruit, these are going to be easy decisions in comparison to what's coming down the pike. So they may look at this year as just being kind of okay. You know, I mean, after all the noise and stuff. I really feel sorry for all the newbies who are in the legislature, because they walked into this, and not only is it a mess, and do they have nothing but these horrible things they have to vote on, so no matter what they do, it's wrong, someone's going to find fault with them, but they're also going to lose money in their paychecks, they're going to have to do forfeiture days. I mean, I do forfeiture days, welcome to the club, you know.
Anything else I should be asking?
I think you always ask good questions, you get it covered.
Wonderful.